even on the very basic level, apart from experiencing racism between the two cultures, between the black and the white culture, we have a very interclass, intercolor racism, bias, whereby some black Africans criticize other black Africans. And one asked, Kwani, how black should I get? How black can I be? You see, I've just overcome racism here, white and black, only to come and face another racism between my own culture. There's this song ilimbwa by Kinara from Somali, ule mwenye limba, when I grow older. I know you know that song. So there's this song wameimba na Nas and Damian Marley on the album called Distant Relatives. This song inajita tribal war. So there's when it comes to his part, he said, now it's me against me. It starts with me against me, then it goes to me against my family. So that's a tribal war. Me against me. The second one is me against my family. The third one is me against now my clan. Now it integrates even further. It comes to me against my tribe, and then it graduates a little bit further. It goes to me against my country. So that's how deeper it can get. Now, to translate this over to the color thing and why Kwanzaa was formed, Dr. Maulana Karenga realized that lack of unity is what brought all about this division, because people were not united and there was nothing that was bringing these people together, like when you need a magnet in order to attract all the nails. So he needed something that would attract all these people, and that's why he formed this Kwanzaa community and decided, like, we should be celebrating this Kwanzaa festival each and every year as a magnet to attract all the black people across continents. You can be either living in America, because that's where the Kwanzaa celebration is prioritized, because we have many black people who moved into foreign countries. So they usually celebrate that as a reminder to keep them on toes, to realize where they came from and why they are in a foreign country, and what or how does the future look for them if they don't go back to their roots. It is also celebrated in Africa, although by a small minority, because let me tell you why I feel like we should increase this to a majority celebration. Because I feel like in this era of neo-colonialism, just alluding to the example that I gave back a few moments, in the neo-colonialism era, where we have blacks who feel like they are superior to other blacks, like there's this group of elites, even in our own country here in Kenya, there's this small group of elites who feel like they are better than the others, and they've disintegrated themselves and placed themselves into a class. And then there's this war of status quo. There's that war whereby it's a group of elite because the resources are concentrated at the very top. So there's no way these resources can reach the other ones at the bottom, because they feel like if the resources reach the bottom, now they'll be at par, and who will work for who. So we still have that even in Africa. And the main reason as to why I gave also that example, because I believe in giving more tangible and logical examples so that we can be at par in thinking and in logical sense. Why I think we should, as a majority, be celebrating this festival here in Africa is because we need to unite ourselves. Despite it's only the resources that are making us divide, or that are bringing a division between ourselves, because you feel like you have money, because money is the most prioritized resource. But as of this era, human capital is the most expensive resource. So I feel like this festival could also work for us, Africans living in Africa who are internally displaced. Imagine living in your home country, but you are a refugee in your backyard. Does it make sense? So if you feel like we should not be celebrating this, just ask yourself, you becoming a refugee in your own country, or picture yourself as a refugee in your own backyard. And now to move further, we have symbols. So these symbols are far away from the principles. I know the visuals will be going as I speak, so you don't have to worry. It's not theoretical, it's more a bit practical, so you'll get the connection when you see the symbols and when you see the visuals. So there are 7 principles, of which I have already said. We have umoja, kujichagulia, ujima, ujamaa, nia, kuumba, and imani. Those are the 7 principles. In Swahili, they are called nguzo saba. Now, apart from these 7 symbols, we also have these 7 principles. We also have key symbols. Now, these key symbols, we have the Kinara, we have the mishumaa saba, we have the mazao, and we have the kikombe cha umoja. These symbols, they have a different interpretation. Different people might interpret it differently, and everybody is entitled to their interpretation, and that's the beauty of life. So Kinara is the candle holder which hold the 7 principles. One is black, the other one is red, and the 3 are green. If you go back in history, Africa is called Al-Kebulan, and the main colors of African representation, even the main colors that we are using on our flag today, we have black, we have red, we have green, and white. But on the Kwanzaa, they only have black, red, and green. Normally, when we see red, we know it's a representation of blood, because we fought for this land. We spilled our blood on this land, and our blood is color red. In order for us to gain our independence, we had to spill our blood. So in every African country where you go and you see red, just know it represents blood. It represents ownership. And then we have we have black. Black, in simple terms, is our skin, our melanin, our texture. For you, in order to differentiate an African from another race, you just have to go by the color. But we are not feeling inferior just because of our color. They say black is beautiful, black is gold. So the more the melanin, one word is enough for the wise. And then green represents our vegetation. Even on our flag, the green is at the very basic level, because now this is the vegetation. Even if you look at the back, at the very back here, we have a flower, green in color, even though it's not natural, it's artificial, but it remains that it's vegetation. So it represents vegetation. So the 3 colors represent vegetation. And the second symbol is the mishumaa saba. Now the 7 candles, which we have stated as principles, which each candle represents a principle. African sexualities and African societies, as we know, they prioritize family, and Umoja expands this to include chosen families and a concept which is vital to queer communities who often face rejection. It encourages building and affirming networks rooted in love and solidarity. So from me, I do believe this is an exciting year, and we are going to have more and more of these sessions. Remember, this is just the first principle of Kwanzaa, and we are going to have, maybe God willing, we are going to have guests, researchers, academicians, professors, and so forth, people who are learned, people who let me not say people who are learned, because it sounds a bit off. People who have a deeper understanding of the current topic, because I wouldn't like to just dwell on rumors and hearsays. I'd love for us to engage from a fact or a factual basis, whereby we understand, like, this is the audience and we need to feed them this and this in order to improve their understanding. Because just Googling information and just reading, you might forget. But if you get to hear from a word of mouth, I believe it creates impact. So from me, this is it. And I'd love to welcome you to the new year and to the community. But before I leave, I want to introduce to you something new. Remember last year we had begun on decentralized finance. So I wanted to push it through to this year. And this year I'm starting Shilingi 3.0. Why Shilingi 3.0? Remember back in the olden days, because I love history a lot. Back in the day, when we used to do trading, it was based on barter trade, which meant exchange of goods. So I give you, if I'm in need of a certain good and I don't have money because there was no money back then, and the evolution of money was not yet realized. So I would come with my good and give you, and you exchange with a different good. So that was the first very form of financing. So we graduated to another one, which now came to coin, gold and silver. So after coming from barter trade, we came into gold and silver, and to a bit we came into notes, and then as time went by, we graduated to e-money or e-banking, electrical money, electrical banking. But now that's this a part of centralized finance. But currently we are coming into decentralized finance, whereby now money is no longer tangible, it's virtual money. So pay close attention. We came from barter trade, we graduated into centralized finance, and now we are into decentralized finance, which correlates with regenerative finance, which is used to fund communities and as a corporate social responsibility. So pay attention, pay close attention, because this is where we'll be spilling facts, and as always, we'll be inviting guests who are knowledgeable enough. Stay tuned. From me to you, I hope I see you in the future.